starting the stream. Pull it up. It'll be a little delayed for you to see the stream link on my channel. Should be up now, though. And yeah, this is the Steelers Depot live stream for Monday, May 11th, 2020. Let you guys get in the chat as usual. I have a new headset, so as always, I do ask to make sure things sound okay for myself and Dave audio-wise. If we need to make some adjustments, we can and we will once the chat begins to fill up. So, Dave, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Pretty quiet Monday. We're hitting the real, even in a normal year. I know this is not a normal year, the dull zone of the NFL schedule. So we'll find some things to talk about both in the chat and, of course, on the podcast tomorrow, the Terrible Podcast. For those who haven't been following, as always, if you're in the chat, feel free to ask any questions in the comments below, anything Steelers related, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, Dave and I. So, let the chat fill up, and we'll get things going here shortly.
I'm still not seeing the link to the live stream here.
You on my channel on the video tab and try refreshing it?
Yeah,
Should
videos, refresh. Let's see.
I can try to send you the link if it's not going to come up for you.
Sort by newest.
I'll DM you the
right.
links there. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes YouTube can be weird in its infinite wisdom. Okay, Dave, I sent you the link. Get the chat going. Maybe we get some people here. Maybe they're not seeing the link because it's a little empty here to start. But I had a video today go up on UG3 and kind of refresher of his preseason and the talent he showed there that had a lot of excitement from both myself and I think a lot of Steelers fans that played his way onto the roster. So again, if you're just joining the chat, feel free to leave a question Steelers related, anything Steelers related in the live chat, and Dave and I will answer it.
All right, I finally have it up here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Who's in here? Nobody?
Looks like right now the chat is pretty empty. It's been that kind of Monday. Just feels very blah kind of Monday. But if you're here in the chat, let us know. Let us know if the audio sounds okay for Dave and myself. And yeah, just give it a second here to let things fill up.
Yeah, I wonder if it just taking a while to populate on.
It feels like
on the page because I didn't see it.
Do you see it now if you were to close out and then open it back up?
Let's see. Let me go back.
I mean, I did see it on my end, but I mean, that is my end, and I don't know if that has any sort of difference there. But we'll see. Shane, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. He says, sounds good, so I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I know Dave's going to get the headset that I have too, so we'll kind of be in sync that way, so we sound basically identical.
Yeah, I'm still not seeing it on your page, Alex.
That is really weird. I don't know. That's probably the reason why the chat isn't very active right now. I have no idea. It should be up there. Okay, looks like we have some people getting in the chat here now. Pink King Colton, I'm very sorry about your tummy ache. Paul, thank you. Mutated Genome, thanks for being here. Yeah, okay, maybe now it's coming up as we're getting the chat in a little bit more active. So, if you guys hadn't heard, I have a new headset. Check audio. I think we sound okay. Hugo says we sound perfect, so that's fantastic news. I assume we're both good to go. So again, if you have any Steelers questions, feel free to leave it in the chat below, and Dave and I will answer it for the next hour.
Greetings. How do I sound? Do I sound like a robot this week or no?
I think I hope we've eliminated that. If we haven't fixed it, then I'm out of ideas. But I think we sound okay.
All right, good.
Mutated Genome says we both sound good to go. So thank you guys for being here. As always, like I said, I had the video on UG3 go up. Thanks everybody who has subscribed. I've gotten a decent amount of subscribers to the YouTube channel the last couple of days. So I appreciate that. And again, if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer it. What do you want to start, though, in terms of other Steelers stuff before the live chat kind of gets going? What are your thoughts on UG3? I know you didn't get to see him in camp last year. With the preseason, the guy made a lot of plays. Do you kind of have the confidence I do, or do you feel a little more skeptical of his situation?
Well, I mean, it's not so much being skeptical as much as it is I haven't seen him. You know, I mean, I didn't have the luxury of watching him there, obviously in training camp. And look, I mean, I think I wrote about his progress throughout training camp and him going up from like what was it, third team or fourth team, and then moving on up that way. I thought he had a very good game against Tampa Bay.
Yep, that was a great game.
Last year as well too. So but the problem is outside of special teams play, once the season started, that's all we saw of them. So I think it's hard for anybody to have expectations that did not see him on a regular basis there during training camp. there's a lot of projection involved there.
Sure, there is. Even for somebody like me who saw him, I think there is a lot of projection there. But I mean, I think he had a really successful preseason, and even the first half of the year, I think he was leading the team in special teams tackles before going down with that back injury. So he's making an impact on special teams before he got hurt. So I think there is a lot of well-founded reason for optimism with UG3.
And look, you obviously hope you don't have to get that deep down into the depth chart anyway. But I mean, I'll find it kind of surprising if Vince Williams plays, of an extremely, let's say, more than, I don't know, 500 snaps. I guess defensively, as I say, I don't think that's the intentions. I think the intention is to maybe get a guy like UG3 to come along and start absorbing some of those snaps. I mean, let's face it, Vince Williams is getting on up there now.
Hmm.
Obviously a good special teams player, and you're probably still going to rely on him a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you got a couple of these other kids coming along now, so maybe you won't have to stress Vince that much, as far as special teams play goes like that. But this is obviously a look. I mean, whatever Brooks becomes, Antoine Brooks,
Hmm.
obviously more of a hybrid guy, but he's obviously sounds like he's learning the safety position during this virtual rookie mini camp and all like that. I think the expectations of him getting on the field is just crazy right now, barring injuries. So that pretty much is going to leave guys like obviously Devin Bush and Vince Williams and UG3 and maybe even Spillane a little bit, God
Hmm.
forbid. But yeah, you would hope that UG3 would be the next guy up, third on the depth chart.
Yeah, I think he will be. I'm not sure if he's going to cut into Williams' role right away, or at all. I think an injury would be obviously the easiest and most likely path for that to happen. But it'll be interesting because yeah, you got Bush, who's obviously going to be your every down guy, and then Vince is going to be right now, I assume, base and nickel. And are they going to supplant him with a UG3, or maybe they move Edmonds down or something like that? I don't know. So because if you're not doing that, and Vince is just going to be the other guy, then he's playing probably closer to 700, 800 snaps this season.
I just think that's a little much to ask Vince to do.
Yeah, I mean it's fair. I mean, so what do you think is more likely that UG3 would work into nickel then? Because in base, I mean, Vince will definitely be the opposite backer next to Devin Bush, but nickel, I guess, is the question: is do you go with UG3? Or do you find some sort of other outlet to get a DB to roll down real close to line of scrimmage?
No, I mean I think UG3 would have to be, well, at least be the odds-on favorite to be that nickel option right now,
Yeah.
or sub package to some degree, because once again, you are going to return a lot of guys from this defense from last season, Sands, Hargrave and Barron, of course, being gone.
Hmm.
So the Barron snaps need to be absorbed somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcel Holmes getting into the UG3 discussion says there has to be logic behind the decision of UG3 the Steelers have made, and I trust them. Yeah, I think that the fact that they didn't really add anybody to that group shows their level of confidence in UG3. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed, doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but that certainly is a vote of confidence for a guy like Gilbert III. Dylan Bayer says, "Hey guys, I've heard some talk that if the revenue cap goes down, player salaries could go down as their percentage of revenue. Dave, I figured you would be able to provide the most info on this. So, what's your take on that rumor?"
It's still projection stuff right now. I mean, we don't have a good idea of how much the coronavirus is going to affect the season, and B, we don't know if they're going to try to work out something where maybe they borrow future cap dollars from future years as well too. Uh,
Has that ever
could
happened before? Is that borrowing ever? Is that even a possible?
I not that I remember. No, in
Okay,
all the years of kind of. I mean, look, we're in uncharted
sure,
waters here, right? I
sure.
mean, for the most part here. I mean, obviously with 9/11 and all like that, but games just got canceled and moved back, right? Mean, you didn't lose those games overall.
Is that what happened? I
So,
honestly don't remember. I was in third grade
uh,
in 2001.
God, you're making me feel old there.
But is that what
I
they
think
canceled and they pushed them back?
yeah, didn't they push him back a week or so on that? I'll have to go back and
Okay,
look at
but
that.
obviously nothing at this extreme where it was
Right,
potentially
right.
the whole
And,
season could be affected.
and here's the thing: you have to get both sides to be able to agree to this.
Hmm.
I've seen some estimations of the cap dropping, astronomical amounts. But look, I mean, how many teams would you have over the cap? And you would have to work out some type of agreement with players that they would give up, the same percentage of the
Mhm.
salaries as the cap goes down.
And that's what Dylan's
And
saying here.
yeah, and I haven't heard anything like that, Dylan. I still think it's way too. I mean, I understand people are going to talk about it now, and especially as we start getting closer to the start of the season, though. But until we have more hard evidence, and look, I mean, how many teams? Here's what the league doesn't want to have happen, right? They don't want teams to go through starting cutting their most expensive players, their most expensive backup players, and putting those
Mhm.
guys out of jobs in lieu of rookies, right? I mean, that's the last thing that the NFLPA wants to happen is there more veteran guys losing jobs.
Yeah, right. They don't want anyone to lose jobs right now. So I think that should it come to that, the players would have to take some sort of reduction in salary equal to the loss in percentage and overall cap. But I think, as we all recognize, we don't know what's going to happen. Everything's uncertain right now. The NFL is trying to at least project business as usual as much as humanly possible, and we'll just have to cross that bridge if and when we get to it. Hopefully, obviously, we don't get to that point. Hugo Gonzalez says thoughts on Trayon Bandy. That's the undrafted corner from the U. I've heard he's a Mike Hilton type corner. Yeah, we profiled him about a week ago and talked about him on a recent podcast. And a really exciting guy that got one of the larger signing bonuses the team has handed out so far. And so I like him. And speaking of signing bonuses, just to talk about that briefly, I'll pull up the article that you wrote today because you have a good relationship with Joel Corey. He's able to help us ascertain some of this information. And it looks like, I know there's still, I think, two guys outstanding, but it looks like Josiah Coatney is going to be the highest paid UDFA, getting a $15,000 signing bonus.
Yeah, we have two players left, and those two signing bonuses total out at 17,000 in total, which means the Steelers will have spent $80,000 on their 10 undrafted free agents and signing bonuses. The only thing now, we just got to find a breakdown of the two remaining players out there, and I think Coatney will be the like I said, I think it's a seven. I think we're up to 63,000 in accounted for signing bonus money. I know they spent 80,000 total, so I think there's 17,000 needs to be split in between two players. I wouldn't be surprised if it works out to be, 9 and 8
Hmm.
or whatever. So I don't think I think Josiah Coatney is going to be the big winner this year when it
Hmm.
comes to that.
Yeah,
And
but to
go ahead.
Bandy, yeah, well, to Bandy, I mean, he's the guy that could be a big winner come camp because I think, assuming there is a camp, he's going to be impressive in that setting.
Yeah, you would hope so, especially on the special teams end of it, right? I mean, that this is a guy that should help you in that area, and this is a very Mike Hilton like player that we talked about. The guy plays a lot better coming downhill,
Hmm.
and I think that's something that we talked about on the podcast the other day. So, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we've there've been others over the years that we've gotten excited about. And obviously don't end up making a roster. But I think when it comes to this year's class of 10 undrafted players, he's up there at the top as far as what you would perceive as possible chances of making at least the initial 53.
Agreed. And so you see the three. Courtney got 15,000. Montana, the center from Tulane, got 2,500. Same with Spencer Nye, the fullback from Auburn. The two outstanding guys are Calvin Taylor from Kentucky, and who's the other? Was it Leo Lewis? Do you know who the
I
other
think it's
one
Leo Lewis is
is?
the
It
other one. Yeah,
okay?
I'll have those. I'll have those tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm betting that you're right. They're probably about split of that 17,000 to 85 to one guy, 85 to the other. Sounds about right based on their, play and potential, both in college and the NFL. Marcel Holmes says, funny Dave keeps saying projection when UG3 is most heralded for his speed and the diagnosis of plants and speed to tackling. I don't think, and Dave, I'll let you speak for this, but I don't think Dave is saying projection in terms of his athleticism, but just projection in terms of his overall play, where he's just an unknown because the dude's never taken a snap on defense before.
Right. I mean, it's one thing to look at his college play, and Lord knows I'd looked at plenty of Akron tape, over a year ago. The projection is where he projects on an NFL field, not
Hmm.
not 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 on a college field. So, yeah. I mean, I guarantee I've watched. Oh, I don't know how many I pulled last year, Alex. What did I pull? 12 Akron games, 10 Akron games. And the only thing with him was you just didn't see some of the things there on tape that maybe you eventually were able to see during a few games during the preseason there. So yeah, I mean, I saw some of his athleticism there, but where the projection comes in is a projection at the NFL level, and we're looking for that because we haven't seen him
Right.
on an NFL field yet.
And I admit, although I'm optimistic about UGC, I'm excited to watch him as I showed in the video on YouTube and for Steelers Depot. It's a total projection too, because you just don't know until you know. Chad Weiss says they pushed the games back to end of season when 9/11 happened. Okay, so thank you for that, Chad, because I could not remember. Javon478 asks a question. I put the article up that Matthew wrote over the weekend about the Steelers being bad at play action. Just to put the numbers to it, but he asks, will we see the offense run more play action and more screens to the running back this year with Ben back? Probably some more screens, sure. I don't know if it's going to be more because they ran a lot because that was like all you could trust Rudolph and Duck to do at times last year. More play action though, probably not because Ben just is not under center a whole lot. He works primarily out of the shotgun, and you run less play action out of the gun than you would under center.
They can still run play action out of they and need to run it a little bit more even out of gun,
Hmm.
you know. More than they have. And Ben normally is good. Look, some of these numbers that Aaron Schultz pulled up are unique in but look at the quarterbacks last year also.
Right.
That obviously plays a part of. And as far as the screen game goes, look, I mean, go back to a couple articles I wrote. Not obviously not last season. I think the season before that, Ben was the king of dink and dunk, and it's not a bad thing.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously too, what played a role in as is my God the amount of or the poor field position that offense had for most of that season played a huge part. I think of Ben having to throw for the yardage that he had to play, but I mean, or had to throw that year. But if you go back and read some of the articles, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, he was the king of the shorter passes, couple years ago there, and I think you could see more of that. Yes, but make no mistake about it. And Alex and I talked about this on a podcast, I think last week, sometime there. You've got in today's NFL, you've got to be able to push the football down the field. You've got to be able to get chunks
Hmm.
via the passing game at some point. And obviously, that's where this offense, the Steelers offense, other than turning the football over through the air last season with Mason and Devlin Hodges, the big factor was there was not enough big plays in any aspect of it, whether it be running game or the passing game there. And obviously, Ben will help that or should help that upon his return in 2020. So people talk about run game alternatives and dump offs and screen passes as a bad thing, and no, it's really not. But I mean, back to the original question here. Yeah, I think we should see more, or I'm hoping we see more play action in 2020, even if it is play action with Ben's face to the defense out of shotgun.
Yeah, it's just hard to be optimistic because here's the tweet from Shat you can see on screen for the last 5 years, and the last four straight they've been either next to last or dead last for the last four straight in play action usage. So it's not exclusive just to the quarterback situation last year. And as he points out, the Steelers were actually getting worse results with play action than they were without it. So that's pretty rare and uncommon. So I guess they just don't do it well for whatever reason. They don't do it often, probably in part because they don't seem to do a good job in terms of getting productive plays off of play action.
And I think, and look, I know there's all the advanced stats now to kind of back it up with play action and how much it actually works and helps helps the defense and those kind of things. But anytime you can kind of freeze those linebackers or those
Hmm.
safeties, and maybe get them to take a false step or a hesitation there, I think sometimes can play into a team's advantage, especially in the National Football League, where one step can be the difference sometimes in an explosive play. Now, do I expect this to go be hog wild like it was years ago with Ben? Look, Ben's been great at play action when he's used it enough, and that's even in the shotgun.
Hmm.
So, I think that is something that that they should at least try to do more than what they've done the last several years.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure. Again, thank you everybody that's been here in the chat. Feel free to ask more questions in the in the live chat, and Dave and I will address it. Donald Nolan has one. He asks, "How many running backs do you think that they will keep? Which running backs would you keep?" I know they've generally gone with three plus a fullback for several years now. It's probably going to change given all the investments in the position. It's I think almost certain to be four. It just becomes a question of maybe who that fourth is. Obviously, you have Connor, Snell, McFarland almost guaranteed to make it. Then you have a fourth between Jalen Samuels and Kareth White Jr. I think I'm probably with you in that Jalen Samuels has a much better chance of making this team than Kareth White.
Yeah, but I wouldn't bet my house on it either way.
That's fair.
With Samuels, he does give you a little. I guess it's going to depend too. Will they give McFarland a god honest good chance at being a punt returner or a kick returner? Kareth White obviously can help you out, in the kick return game. There, but really nothing else on special teams. And really the same goes with McFarland, whereas Jalen Samuels can give you something other than, obviously he's not a returner, but he can function in at least one phase of special teams there. I would give the slight edge to Samuels right now, but once we get past those top three, talking about Connor, Snell, and McFarland, I'm not married to anybody after that.
Yeah.
So I think it could go numerous ways, and God knows, hopefully we're not talking about the injuries playing a role in this, but I do think it will be four when the dust clears plus Watt at fullback.
I agree. Yeah, Samuels, I've been as critical of him as anybody, but just based on the experience, versatility, yeah, like you say, he's a two-face special teams guy. He works on the pump block team and the kick return team. So he's probably going to make it, but as you said, it's not guaranteed, and I wouldn't be too mad if they cut him. I just want to jump ahead briefly here, then I'll get to Chan here in a moment, where Donald asks a follow-up. No chance of Trey Edmonds then. Maybe practice squad. He's got a little special teams value, but honestly, that special teams work was not that impressive last year, so I think he's got a mountain to climb. It's going to take injuries for him to make the roster.
Go back to that goal line play of him not putting the ball where it should have gone.
I forgot about that.
Behind DeCastro on that one goal. That's all you need to see right there.
Yep.
That one play right there, to me, is it. I know everybody will point to that 40-something yard run or whatever it was he had, but I mean that was less impressive. I'll tell you what, his goal line run was even more poor than his long run was impressive. If that makes sense. But you go back to that one goal line run, and that's why he's not an NFL running back.
Yeah, I agree. And so he's going to take just the way that injuries was his path to making the team getting promoted last year. It's going to happen again. Chan Yang says, "Do you think we keep Duck or Lynch?" I think this one's a total toss-up. I think it comes down to who just does better in August. But Kevin Colbert has repeatedly, sometimes unprompted, spoken highly of Paxton Lynch. They know the first-round resume, and so I'm leaning Lynch over Duck right now. But it's kind of similar to the White Samuels debate. I would not bet my house on either guy.
Yeah, you tighten up that chin strap on that tinfoil hat. Tinfoil helmet of yours, and the way Colbert's been talking about Paxton Lynch, and really, I guess to some degree, Tomlin too. It sets up for Lynch to be that guy, but once again, that's not anything I would like to bet a serious amount of money on there. But I think they're going to give. I'll put you this way: I think Lynch will have every opportunity to be that guy.
And I'm sure he's wild in practice because the dude has a big arm, and in practice and shells, those kind of quarterbacks are going to look good. Now, does it translate to the NFL and on Sundays? Obviously, Lynch, it didn't work in Denver, but in practice, I'm sure he looked good last season. Dr. Bell TV, Le'Veon Bell's college tape or Anthony McFarland's college tape? Dave, I'll start with you. Which tape did you like better, Bell or McFarland?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, it's been so many years since Bell, and obviously the amount of tape. And it's not like now. I mean, I've got the last 2 years of Maryland tape. I mean, I've got every game from the last 2 years that Maryland played, the TV copies at least. And back then, I want to say I had. I don't remember, Alex. I think maybe 3 Michigan State games from Bell's junior season, and maybe just one from sophomore. I can't remember, but I I don't want to say. Look, here's the thing. There, the different running styles. Obviously,
Hmm.
I mean, Bell was a patient runner in college, and I don't remember them using them all that much out of the backfield or asking them to pass protect. Talking about Bell at Michigan State, but he did it, I think, a lot more than maybe McFarland does off the top of my head. But it's been so many damn years ago there. But they're just two different backs, and I will tell you this about McFarland. I've said this, I think, even dating back to us having the guys on doing that kind of mega post draft show there. The deeper you get into McFarland's tape, the more you realize why they got him and why they got him where they did get him. Now, I'm not worried about the durability standpoint for him. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is and I'm going to show people this either later on this week or next week, the pass protection and what I found on tape. And the other thing is when he is whatever snaps he gets and touches the ball, he's going to have to produce those explosive plays.
Yeah, I mean that's why he was drafted. Essentially, was for that big playability this offense sorely needs. I'll go McFarland, believe it or not, just because I was not crazy about Bell's Michigan State tape. I thought he was too heavy, which he was. The first thing he did when he came to Pittsburgh was start dropping weight, and I just thought there was enough big plays with him, and I didn't realize he was going to become the versatile back that he is ultimately became. So I'll actually say McFarland. I was more excited about that tape than I was Bell, just because I was not crazy about Bell coming out until he basically transformed his body and became such a well-rounded running back. Pink King, Colton W. How many snaps do you think McFarland will get? I believe we talked about that on the Friday episode of the podcast. I don't know how many.
We put an over under on it, didn't we?
Yeah, you said what, 69 and a half over under for total touches, not snaps, but touches. I don't know for a snap count. I think he's going to be between that 75 to 100 touch mark, including special teams. So I think he does something in kick or punt return this year. So that's where I'm at. I don't know how that's going to translate to a snap count, but I'm at 75 to 100 touches his rookie year.
Le'Veon Bell had 26 explosive play runs at Michigan State in 3 seasons.
He had a lot of carries though, too, didn't he?
He had 107 in 2010. He had 182 in 2011, and then his big year was obviously his last year, 382
Right.
touches.
So
I mean, carries.
yeah, so a lot of opportunity. And McFarland had 17 in 2 years. Maryland, is that the number? I believe you
Was
said it was
that the
17,
number?
right around there.
Yeah, I had to look.
Yeah, so I'm betting on a percentage basis. McFarland probably blows Bell out of the water, but of course, different body types, you would expect that nonetheless. What are we at here, question wise? Also, speaking of,
McFarland had in 2 seasons had 17,
okay.
5 last year and 12 and these are explosive runs only
Mhm.
in 2018.
And also, I think that McFarland, we talked about potential rookie of the year for Pittsburgh, Joe Green Award winner. I mean, it could be McFarland because you wrote the article today. You were looking back at the last time there wasn't the spring workouts. That was 2011 because of the CBA lockout. Things didn't resume till really in August of 2011. And the first round pick, Cam Hayward, really didn't play at all, as opposed to second round pick, Marcus Gilbert, who ended up starting 13 games of tackle that year and played a good bit. So the positions that are easiest to transition to, I think, are offensive line and running back. And I think for Pittsburgh, McFarland's going to be able to be at less of a disadvantage, still at a disadvantage, but less so because his position is just easier to make the switch to than a lot of the others.
Here's the thing: if he gets 100 touches, things have gone real well for him. I
Hmm.
think.
Oh yeah,
And I think maybe maybe there's a chance you are talking about him winning the Joe Green Award at that point because I
sure.
think barring injury, and if anybody knows anything about Chase Claypool at this point right now, it's me because I've almost done contextualizing all of his games from last season. Still, the likelihood of him being able to find the field much barring injury, it's going to be hard, for him to see outside of maybe red zone. So he would obviously have to have some nice red zone touches in there, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, something along those lines, because I don't think his overall touches are going to be there. Whereas a guy like McFarland, if he's getting that amount of, let's say, 100 touches throughout the season, then obviously he's doing something good along the way there, probably producing a couple of home runs and maybe a couple of big touchdowns, runs on top of it there. So I think that would be a good sign if he hits that over.
Javon478, will Isaiah Bugg see some snaps on defense? If so, how many do you predict? He will play defensively. The exact snap count, I think, is murkier. He played 75 his rookie year. The addition of Wormley kind of keeps that snap count fairly similar in terms of his depth chart pecking order. I think he could be around that. I don't know, 100 to 150, somewhere in there. I mean, injuries will dictate a lot. Obviously, to its return, it's going to curtail some of those snaps. So it's still going to be tough for him to get on the field just because of the talent that's in front of him. Do you have any idea on a snap count? Is 100, 150 sound about right?
For Bugs,
Yeah, for Bugs.
yeah, I mean, I think 150 would be tops, barring injuries.
Hmm. Rob Coe, better one technique in the Steelers 2-4-5 defense, Hargrave or Tuitt? Well, Hargrave was the one tech, and so I'll go with him. I think Tuitt basically plays more of the three tech in those situations, and just in terms of the body type of interior guy, nose tackle type guy, I'm going to go Hargrave. Though I think Tuitt is still the better player overall.
Boy, people, it gets lost, and I wrote about this a little bit in that Good Morning Football kind of recap article just a while ago on the site there. Tuitt's kind of a forgotten guy. Boy, if you can get
Hmm.
him come back, and obviously he is back healthy now. If he can come back and pick up where he left off in Week 6 against the Chargers, there he was as dominant of a player that defense had last season. So if he can be that same level of dominant yet stay healthy, that's a huge boost for this defense.
And that's why Peter Schrager of Good Morning Football says the Steelers are the most dangerous defense in the AFC in 2020, and it's hard to disagree with that assessment. Getting a guy like Tuitt back after still that defense having an elite season. Lewis Grove, does Josiah Coatney have any nose tackle ability? Yeah, I think he'll play nose tackle. He's a bigger body. He's played a lot inside at Ole Miss, and so I mean he'll be maybe third string, and snap counts will be tough to come by. But yeah, I think he can play the one tech.
Alex, can he be that guy? And we're going to talk about this, I'm sure, on the podcast tomorrow. All the comments. People say nose tackles don't matter anymore, but there's still 300 snaps out there.
Hmm.
280 to 300 snaps probably. Who's going to absorb a lot of those? I mean, obviously, with Coatney being a rookie, odds are good he's not going to be the guy, but could he be the backup guy?
Maybe. I still
You
think
you
that's.
watch more tape of him
Mhm.
than anybody, I think,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's a skill set there. I mean, the guy can anchor and had some good production and is obviously battle tested against SEC football. But it's just hard to make that leap out of the box. And I think the path there to make the 53 is just so tough right now because you kind of have your 6 defensive linemen. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it may be. What Steve McClendon was on the practice squad for a year, right? Even before he got an opportunity, so he might be a kind of a redshirt year type of guy, just until an opportunity. Because after this year, I mean, Alulu and McCullers and Wormley, all for Asians, then a spot could really emerge. But it's just hard to see that path right now. Rob Coe, Antoine Brooks Jr., this year's version of Cam Kelly, dimebacker who usually plays in box or deep half. Well, they were trying to use some Cam Kelly at free safety last year. That did not end well. So I would say he's more of a strong safety type. He compares well to Marcus Allen and hopefully better and more productive than Marcus Allen. Hopefully, Allen himself has a better chance to make the team this year, but he's more of a Marcus Allen type than I would say Cam Kelly.
Yeah, and I hate to be the once again the negative Nancy Debbie Downer here, but people got to really roll back their expectations when it comes to this rookie class contributing much.
Yeah, and what contributions do exist will come from the easier positions to transition to, like running back guys the second half of the year, and then special teams, and that's where a guy like Brooks Jr. could really excel. I think if all he becomes is a really good four-face core special teamer, then you've got a great pick in Antoine Brooks Jr. Captain Spartan 04. So Seahawks cut Tedrick Thompson because he mainly got beat deep, including by John Ross. Would y'all still sign him for safety depth? I personally feel confident in Terrell Austin coaching him up. He also asked a minute later, which backup safety would y'all trade for? He lists them off: DJ Green, Justin Evans, Josh Jones, Miles Killebrew, or Quinn Blanding. Use your college knowledge about them. They backups because they haven't lived up to the hype. I'm not opposed to any sort of veteran safety depth. I don't have a list of safeties I would trade for just yet. We have till August for Colbert kind of start spinning those tires. But yeah, I think safety depth would be a likely position they would add to, and one they really need to add to.
Here's the thing about Tedrick Thompson too, and we don't. I haven't heard the specifics why as to why, but that was a failed physical with him.
Was it okay?
Yes. So once again, I don't know the exact reason. What the injury was, but when he showed up on the official NFL transaction wire right there in early April, he was designated with a failed physical designation. So I haven't circled back around to see what the injury was. But look, I mean, as time passes here, and teams get into the offseason program, get a better idea of where they stand. Assuming he is back healthy again, then and wants to play for the minimum, then I think he could become an option for the Steelers. But if there's someone out there willing to pay him more and maybe give him a little bit better role potentially, then obviously that won't be the case. I mean, there's just not a lot of free safety types out there worth spending any money on, I don't think, right now. And I think we're both kind of if the Steelers do wait, then maybe they do a late training camp
Mhm.
trade or prior to regular season trade, for another backup.
Yeah, there's a lot of red flags with Thompson's ending in Seattle because I think he asked for a trade and then he gets failed physical, and there's just a lot of question marks there that we don't have the answers to. So I don't think it
And
was.
and I don't remember what kind of special teams worth he has either. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So I don't think there's a safety in free agency I would really want to sign right now. Some guys that maybe I'd trade for in camp, but I don't have a list of those names right now. I usually wait till later in August to produce that list. Dr. Bell TV, a similar question is first one: Martavis Bryant college tape or Chase Claypool's college tape? This one's close. I think I would go Bryant on this one just because Bryant fell just for the whole off the field stuff, but his tape was good.
Once again, I think you're talking about two different playing styles here.
If you were just grading each player, like who do you think would have the higher grade in a vacuum? You just had to put the, 5.0, 5.5 kind of grade on each player.
Look, Bryant Martavis at Clemson could really get down the field.
Yep.
And against press and man coverage as well too. So I would give the slight edge to him,
Mhm.
but let me tell you, Chase Claypool is the king of the back shoulder contested catch. I'll tell you that, and he should, and how much that is in his rookie season. I mean, he's going to be good in the red zone.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Now, how much, like I said, they use him during his rookie season, we'll see. And during his NFL career too, he ought to be real good at those back shoulder throws because got good control of his body. He's got a nice large catch radius. The only question becomes being able to win down the field against coming off of man or press coverage against NFL caliber cornerbacks. That's where the question lies. But yeah, I mean, Martavis was able to get separation quite easily down the field and won on a lot of plays that way.
And I have up on screen right now, if you haven't been following, you should. Dave's been doing contextualization of basically Claypool on a game by game basis in 2019. So, articles well worth checking out. Just type in Claypool in the search bar over here, and you can pull up all of those breakdowns. Tim Ray.
Boy, that game against Navy that you got pulled up, that's the most
Hmm.
recent one I did. 4 touchdowns in that
Yeah.
game. I think 9 total targets in that game. Really, he had a drop on a crossing route there on in the third quarter. Was really the only blemish on that game. A very very strong game, and that last touchdown, that fourth and final touchdown in that game in the red zone, probably was his signature play from last season.
Number four had a lot of influence on the Steelers' first three draft picks. Claypool, 4 touchdowns versus Navy. Highsmith, 4.5 sacks against Old Dominion. And Anthony McFarland, of course, ran a 4.44. Tim Ray, are you concerned about the blocking ability of our tight end room, and how much do you think they will use two tight end sets? I am concerned for a team that wanted to get better with their run game overall. Eric Ebron's not going to help you in that regard. He'll help you in other areas, but as a run blocker, not a lot. Two tight end sets, I think it'll actually be pretty similar to past years. I don't know what the exact number of that is, but I think honestly, both Ebron and McDonald exist, so neither guy plays too many snaps. You get 500 snaps out of McDonald, you get 500 snaps out of Ebron. That's an ideal scenario for both guys, and by extension, the whole Pittsburgh Steelers team.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some sleepless nights. I think here worrying about this a little bit because McDonald is not the same player he was a couple years ago. He's never been been known as the league's best blocking tight end, but that first season he was in Pittsburgh, I thought he did a good job. In run blocking. Obviously, a year older, he's not that guy. And Ebron's not that guy either. And Lord knows Gentry's going to have to make a huge leap based on what we saw in his limited snaps last year. That's a lot of that's a lot of ifs in there. So yeah, I mean, I don't see what the benefit is for having both McDonald and Ebron on the field together, especially if both those guys are going to be tucked up close to the into the line of scrimmage there. Because I mean, you can do it, but I just the run success rates I worry out on the edge won't be there.
Yeah, it's going to really rely on Fietner's creativity to be able to, minimize those weaknesses and move those guys around. And that's relying on Fietner to be creative. And that track record, unfortunately, is not great so far. Chan Yang, I keep reading cornerbacks drop off a cliff after 30-31. Do you worry about this for Hayden? Point taken. Father Time always wins, Chan, but I think Hayden had one of his best years ever last year, so he really found a way to just revitalize his career. I think being healthy was important, maybe coming an offseason where he was healthy for the first time in a long time. So it'll happen inevitably, but I think Hayden's still playing at a really high level right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we could sit here and worry about every player,
Hmm.
maybe getting injured and all. Hopefully, Hayden's got at least one more season in him. And look, if he is healthy, he's a smart player, and I have no issues with this defense the way it sets up right now as a whole. And I even wrote in that article, talking about what Peter Schlegel had said earlier in today on Good Morning Football that it'll be a crying shame if the Steelers are not one of the top one or two defenses in the AFC by the time the smoke clears. Yes, they did lose Javon Hargrave. Yeah, that's a pretty decent loss there. But overall, you're going to have all these guys back. You're going to have Devin Bush another year underneath his belt. Remember, this is a defense. We forget this is a defense that led the league in sacks and led the league in total takeaways. Right?
Hmm. Yeah, the first defense to do that since I forget when, but rare
I mean,
company.
and then now you got all those guys coming back, plus a health, and you hope a healthy Tuitt on top of it. I mean, it's hard to bet against this group right now.
Yeah, it absolutely. Another question for the defense. This is going back to the nose tackle positions. Doctor Bell TV. At what point did they give up on McCullers? I'm not sure if they did or didn't release him yet. He's still on the roster. He's the leader in the clubhouse, as we've said for nose tackle. He's like Chris Hubbard, the guy you just think is going to go and he isn't, and he's still there. So I don't think he's going to be off the roster because they keep carrying him, and at the very least, he'll be a backup this year, which is where he's been every year. I mean, I guess it's possible McCullers gets cut, but it just doesn't really feel like that's in the cards. Marcel Holmes, I've been listening for many years. I love the shows. Thank you very much, Marcel. Thank you, everyone here in the chat. We appreciate it. But Marcel has one question. If both Claypool and McFarland finished in the top 10 of their positions in 2021, which of you eats the crow sandwich? I'm always happy to eat crow. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I don't know how you want to define top 10 of their positions for 2021, but I'll be more than happy to be wrong. I'm not sure. We don't neither of us hated the pick, but if eating crow is what you think I should do, then I'll be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, I don't understand the question there. Finish top 10. Look, I mean, it's just the fact of the matter. It's going to take injuries for those guys to get on the field.
Yeah, well, he's saying I think for 2021, so I guess he's saying next year.
Oh, well, I mean,
But
okay,
still,
for
I think the point
2021,
remains.
where we predicted that maybe won't be. I mean, we don't hate the picks.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you've definitely. I mean, we both of us warmed up to McFarland. I didn't dislike the pick of McFarland. I'm just worried about some areas where they didn't address that, and they went with a running back instead.
I'm not understanding why we would be eating a crow sandwich in that situation.
But we'll see. I root for both of those guys to succeed, of course. Larry P, thank you for being here, Larry. I bet a lot of money that Pittsburgh isn't done upgrading. At least one player at safety, inside linebacker, D tackle will be added. I wouldn't close the door on Barron even coming back. Yeah, I wouldn't completely shut that door, though I think it's pretty unlikely. But I agree with the overall premise, Larry, where Colbert is among the NFL's most active GMs when it comes to summer trades. I did that study a few years ago. I'll have to revisit it again. But yeah, I would expect this team to do something in August. Do you agree, Dave, or do you think that
Yeah,
there's
I mean,
less that's
I
going to
think,
say?
I mean, those are definitely the two positions,
Yeah.
linebacker and a free safety
Yeah.
type.
Jason Tatum, for preseason, how would you split the time with the quarterbacks knowing you have an extra game? Well, hopefully they have an extra game. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty right now. I don't know if you really approach it a whole lot differently, but of course, I need to see personally everything you can from Mason Rudolph this year. This dude needs to play more than any other quarterback on this roster. And I'll have an article for that in the morning that kind of talks about there's a lot of confidence in Rudolph from the Steelers front office, but that confidence now has to be earned because so far Rudolph has yet to do so.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, obviously you want to get. I mean, you got to be careful with Ben. Uh, to some degree. But on top of it, you probably want to get him. He'll probably tell you they'd like to get that first hit out of the way
Yep.
at some point on top of it. So you obviously got to be careful with him. But if Mason, if you're tying your wagon to Mason, then you better get him as much work as you can. Just as a little bit of a confidence builder as well too. Look, I mean, his last action against the Jets before he got injured was he was trending to have probably his best game of the season
Right.
in the relief role, and then down he goes with the injury again. So I think you would like to just have him on an upswing coming out of preseason. God forbid you need him again,
Hmm.
But get him as much work as possible.
This is really, I think, sink or swim for Rudolph because either he's going to show that he's turning the corner or he's not. And this team may have to make a decision as early as this upcoming 2021 draft where they may want to dip back into that well to try to find Benzaire because if Rudolph hasn't shown that 3 years in, he's probably not going to be that guy. At least it's really hard to still project that level of confidence. Tim Ray, as a follow up, do you think they will mostly use an extra lineman for helping the run game? And if so, who would it be? If he does not win the right tackle job, it'll be Zach Banner in that role. I still think they'll use it a decent amount because you're right. That's a good way to try to substitute some run blocking when Ebron won't give you a whole lot there. McDonald, not a whole lot more either. So maybe hopefully a little less because there's certainly drawbacks to having six linemen in a game.
Mhm.
But if they do, and when they do, they will do it to some extent. It will be Zach Banner if he does not lock on that right tackle job.
And that's the only thing, man. You kind of tipping your hand a little bit, because I mean, barring something changing. I mean, yeah, I know he's ran a couple of routes. You unfortunately highlighted that for us
I
a
know.
few
He's gonna
times
catch a
there. But
pass. He's gonna catch one.
oh well, I mean, look, like I say in the past with some of these smaller running backs, if you're going to use them that way, you better
Right.
you, you better throw to them. And of course, I'm joking. I'm open not to see that kind of stuff, but I just think it limits you other than having a Matt Spaeth out there.
Mhm.
And yeah, Matt Spaeth didn't catch a lot of passes, but he was used some in the passing game during his prime there when he was believe it or not, one of the league's best number 2 tight ends
Yeah, remember
from a
that
blocking
that game
standpoint.
against Baltimore was like a end of game, 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, and they did play action. They threw it deep for like a 32-yard gain to Matt Spaeth. So yeah, he was certainly more of a receiving threat than what Banner could be. Now, if Banner were to win that right tackle job hypothetically, then I wonder who your six offensive lineman because obviously Banner's not going to start kicking over mid game. So is it Jukes? Is it Dotson? That'd be a good role for Dotson to get him on the field right away. I think if Banner locks on that right tackle spot. Captain Spartan 04, besides the Ravens Thanksgiving game, do y'all think the Bills game is probably the most circled game on the calendar? I don't know what's number two. I think the rematch against Cleveland, of course, the whole Miles Garrett saga is going to be pretty, circled. I think the week 3 against Houston, just because it's the Watt story, will be circled. But yeah, that Bills game, some revenge from last year would certainly be nice to have.
Man, the thing is, you look at this thing before the season starts, and then certain things happen along the way, and just it changes the whole
Right.
complexity of it, and
That's
and,
why I don't
and
care about
all.
the
So
schedule release too much because it's all
yeah.
going to change. 2 weeks into the year, it'll be a whole new landscape to the season. But I think that Bills rematch will be a good one.
Here's the thing, and I say it time year in year out, and it's a Captain Obvious statement. You've got to do good in your division.
Yep.
That's first and foremost. So you got to circle all those division games and then go from there. Because look, if you go 6-0, I mean 6-0 or 5-1 in division, then you're setting yourself up to at least probably make the playoffs in some capacity there.
Yeah, the game that circled for me, week 1 against the Giants, because that's the one that we're starting with
Mhm.
here. Monday,
That's the
it'll be a
next
good,
one.
yeah, it'll be a good Monday night game for sure. Captains, or I'm sorry, I just did that one. Alex Flores, what player on defense and what player offense needs to prove that they deserve to be on the team? So what players are right there on the bubble? They got to prove it. There's a train coming, Dave. So I'll let you start with this question.
Oh, what players on offense or defense need to prove? Look, I mean, I think it goes out saying it's a big year for Terrell Edmonds. I mean, the guy's going to be a starter anyway, so I don't know if that's kind of the way that he's kind of angling there. Daniel McCullers is another guy that we're going to be talking about a lot this offseason. Has a lot to prove, I think, once this team gets into training camp there. Who else?
I think Marcus Allen on defense. I go Dion Kane for offense. Bubble guys that Got to
Mhm.
have big camps to make it. They could be on, they could be off. It all depends on what happens this summer. I think obviously got to talk about Mason Rudolph, and not that he wouldn't make the team, but you better show something in preseason and camp. Better show that you've kind of turned this corner as the player they think that he is. If he's not, there'll be some real long term concerns about, is he the future of this team? Because he probably wouldn't be.
I think Chukwuma Okorafor is
Yeah,
a
it's a
perfect
great one.
example of a guy. And look, you're the one I think wrote about it the
Hmm.
last few days about him saying that shoulder's good to go now. So, uh, good. I mean,
It better be.
it's time for this kid to it's time for this kid to step up and show what he has.
Yeah, there was nobody I think that was more disappointing just in overall play, not even coming close to expectations than Okorafor last year. I mean, some guys have played more, obviously, but Okorafor really just had a terrible camp. Now, he's saying it's a shoulder injury. He says in a tweet here I just pulled up, honestly, couldn't tell you how long it's been since my shoulder felt this good. Feels weird not being in pain. Haha, let's get it 2020. And he better because, there's a chance to take that right tackle job. If he doesn't, then that's bad news for his future for this team. Tim Ray, where can I find that earlier study on yours on summer trades? Let me try to search it here briefly. I may have to, find it later because I don't know exactly what it was called. Oh, okay, I think I just found it. This is from August of 2018, so it'll need a little bit of updating. This was right after they traded for Switzer. The title is Steelers Colbert among most active teams at preseason trades. And this is not updated for this past year, but Pittsburgh was tied for the second most trades in August, I think was my criteria, only behind Seattle. So just type in Colbert active in the search bar and you can read the whole article on Steelers Depot. Midwestern Rampage, I know that he definitely wasn't bad, but I usually hear from national and local media about David DeCastro. Did you see a drop in his performance or was he just bad on a bad offense? Longtime listener, thank you so much for listening, Dave. How would you evaluate DeCastro in 2019?
I need to go take a shower after every time I watch cut ups of him because you know me and loving old school guards on the move and all. I really didn't see. Look, I mean, DeCastro's got his kryptonite. You know,
We'll see him
at
again?
times. Uh,
Yeah, we'll see him in this year.
yeah, Geno Atkins, of course, is one of those, and the other ones is the
Fletcher,
Eagles'
yeah, Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher Cox. There, yeah, I mean, every player's got that one guy or two guys. It seems like they have some issue with, but no, I think DeCastro got you can make a strong argument that he deserved All Pro last year.
Yeah, I think he was the best of a pretty uneven bunch for the offensive line. It might not have been his best year ever, but I still think he had a good year overall. I just think that line fell apart in so many ways to end the year. Matthew had the article about the pressure rate basically doubled from a year ago. I think there were just a lot of schematic issues, and that whole team obviously limped to the finish line. The offensive line is no exception to that. Let's see. Rob Coe. Understand he's gone now, but why was Sean Davis let walk? Why was he let go? Is what Rob is asking. He was more productive than Edmonds, even at strong safety. The year he started there, was he that bad? Did moving around really hurt him that bad? I do think moving around certainly stunted his development. I agree he wasn't as bad as some Steeler fans make him out to be. Some people say he was awful and a bust. I don't think he was either of those things. But they have Edmonds. He's the new guy. They weren't obviously going to move Edmonds. Davis probably wanted to go somewhere else to get that clean starting opportunity, and that chance was just not going to exist in Pittsburgh. Owen 321. Who do y'all think we're playing in the Super Bowl? Man, Owen, I hope you are right, and I don't care who the opponent is. I just care the Steelers get there, and we'll deal with the opponent in February.
Yeah, absolutely, that'd be a nice problem to have.
Captain Spartan 04. Anyway, y'all can possibly get former Steelers on the podcast. I see other podcasts get former players on, but I feel like y'all could ask some real and tough questions better than others. Yeah, I think that's a good point. We've had what, Charlie Batch on, we've had Chris Hoke on. I mean, they're obviously transitioned into some media stuff now, so not just from the lens of a former Steeler, but I think it's something we could try to keep doing.
Yeah, but unfortunately, some I got to be careful how I word this. Some players just aren't as great interviews and
Hmm.
don't offer some of the insight that you think they would be able to offer sometimes. I think they're look, Charlie Batch has always been good on a show. Chris Hoke's always been good on a show. We like to talk kind of second level kind of stuff too, and X's and O's, especially Alex and I and all. And the game's changed a little bit with some of these guys on top of it, but it's something that we can maybe look into, especially during what's going to be a very long
Hmm.
off season here coming up.
Already feels like it. Larry P with a couple of questions. Would you put most of your eggs on Filer moving to guard and Chooks and Banner at right tackle, or Wisniewski at guard and Filer at right tackle? My eggs are in the Filer kicking the guard basket. He also asks, plus, who would you think wins the tackle spot if Filer moves to guard? My eggs are in the Filer to guard basket. I'm with you, Larry, in terms of who's going to win that right tackle job. I think it's honestly a big coin flip. I would give the slight edge to a core four right now, but just like we talked about Duck and Paxton Lynch, it's going to come down to who plays better in August.
Look, a year ago, we were thinking for sure Okorafor is going to be the right tackle, right? About this same time last year, we were, and if not, come that week one inactive list, I think even you were at training camp. We're thinking, okay, Okorafor will be the primary backup, and we get to week one, and lo and behold, who's on the inactive list?
Yeah, it's a core four, and Banner got the hat. Now, I thought that a core four would just give Filer a really good push. I thought it'd be a really close, spirited competition where you wouldn't have a wrong decision. But Filer had that job from day one, and a core four never really threatened it. And a core four had the most disappointing camp of any Steeler last year, and he blames it on the shoulder. And hopefully, he's healthy now because he has to be. But yeah, I think that Filer is most likely to kick inside the guard because I don't think you want Wisniewski there right away. Because if Pouncey goes down, then you're playing a lot of musical chairs with Wisniewski going to center, and Dotson just simply probably will not be ready out of the gate to take over that left guard job week one against New York.
And I think, look, I mean, obviously Filer hasn't played a lot at left guard, but he has logged a lot of snaps now on the offensive line. I think from a communication standpoint, going from a guy like Foster, who is doing a lot communicating with Villanueva on that side, and the old turnaround, look at Ben and tap tap Pouncey roll. I just think you want at least somebody experienced there to start the season with there.
Yeah.
Okay, and Filer going back and remembering his preseason tape at left guard, along with the one game that he played last year against the Rams. I think he's probably your best bet, obviously, to be that guy. Now, will he hold it all year? Does that mean that you can't eventually get a guy like Dotson to come in and challenge that? We'll see. But I'm with the person in the chat there. Yeah, I think the odds are good that Fodder will be that guy.
Yep, we're with you, Larry. And I gotta tip my hat to Filer because that dude just gets moved around game to game, week to week, practice to practice. I mean, he barely played right tackle last year until week one, and he played really steady until things kind of fell apart for him and the whole O line at the end of the year. But that dude gets no respect, and this dude just shows up and puts in good work every single week.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, look, he wasn't awful at right tackle. I mean, in the how many games now? 20 something. How many games has he started at
He had
right tackle now?
10 2 years ago and 15 last year because he had the one at left guard. So that'd be about 25 at right tackle, I believe.
Right. I mean, he hasn't been awful. And
No,
look, I
he's been
mean
good.
that against the Jets and the Bills or whatnot. I mean, there were schematic
The Bills
breakdowns all
game.
along that.
Yeah, there was a
You know,
mess. No, I think Filo's been really good at right tackle. I don't want to say that you have to move him to left guard. I just think that's the most likely and logical fit at this point.
not bad for a former undrafted free agent out of Bloomsburg, right?
Yeah, not too bad. PSAC represent. Alex Flores, are we worrying about the wrong player coming from injury? Meaning, instead of worrying of Ben, shouldn't we be worrying about Tuitt? Point taken. We haven't really not talked about Tuitt's rehab too much, but the worry should be with Ben with the more serious injury and as your franchise quarterback. Because let's say that Tuitt doesn't come back like the old Tuitt, and Ben comes back like the old Ben. You can survive that. If Ben doesn't come back like the old Ben and Tua comes back like the old Tuitt, you can't really survive that. So, as always, it always comes down to who your quarterback is, how healthy he is, and how well he's playing.
And look, it's a big year for Tuitt. Make no mistake about it, because you get past this year. If he can't stay healthy this year, it's hard to continue
Hmm.
to invest that money in him. But once again, I go back to prior to him going down with that injury against the Chargers last year, there probably wasn't a more dominant player on the defensive side of football than him.
Yeah, and just real quick, I have to laugh at the whole Jay Glazer thing. How quickly he walked back those comments about the Ben, and that was such a stupid story. I don't even know what you want to call that about Glazer and Ben, but that was just one of those internet things that I kind of rolled my eyes at, and he walked it back, of course, like 48 hours later. Ashley Bright, thanks for being here, Ashley. Thanks for everybody being here. Be here for a couple more.
Brother Ashley, Ashley's been with us a
I know,
long
really
time.
long time.
Ashley,
out there in Wyoming, the great state. He asks, which rookie have you been the most impressed with in their media interview? Mine might be McFarland. Thoughts? I think they've all been impressive. I'll probably lean Kevin Dotson, maybe because he's a Steelers fan. It's fun to hear him talk about kind of being a Steelers fan and kind of has that immediate passion right away. But I think they've all been really impressive talking with the media.
I like listening to Carlos Davis, guy
Okay.
that we didn't get to hear from. Obviously, being the last guy, that he didn't get his own, I don't think, kind of media session and all right after being selected there. But he sounds like he's got his head screwed on pretty straight too.
Yeah, and his brother. Who's the other twin? Someone else got drafted. Is it Dotson? I think Dotson has a twin. He's not playing in the NFL, but I think he has a twin too. So a lot
Mm.
of brothers twin brothers on this team, or just siblings. You got the Edmonds, the Watts, the Davises, Dotson, something there with Pittsburgh. Captain Spartan 04, speaking of DeCastro, it seems a long shot he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Hayward too. What argument would y'all make for them to be in the Hall of Fame? I think their careers have to be finalized, and you can really look back at that and make the best argument possible. I think DeCastro has a chance, maybe even I would say better than Hayward right now.
You need those all pros, brother.
Yeah.
You need those all pros. I mean, you got to stack them.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance for both. I think DeCastro is more likely because it's just easier for him to get the recognition at the position. For a lineman, once you kind of get that first recognition, you kind of get it more years than not.
I tell you where the listeners can and all can and Joe Fan can help out here, man. I mean, some of these older sports writers now, some of these guys that are voting for these all pros or whatnot. I mean, the game has literally passed them by. Okay, I
Hmm.
mean, you've got bloggers and all that understand and watch and know more about this game than these guys do. When you have David DeCastro receiving votes last year for left guard, okay, something's wrong, and that's not the first time it's happened. You've got people receiving votes for out of position and all there. That stuff doesn't need to happen. Okay, in that aspect. So the fans need to put more pressure on the media and the NFL as a whole to get those guys out of there and get some fresh blood in there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Let
It's
me let
kind
me
of a
get off
mess.
my soap. Let me get off my soapbox
Yeah,
here.
don't hurt yourself getting down. No, it's like that in a lot of sports. Unfortunately, baseball has those issues, football has those issues, and I don't know if it's going to get better anytime soon. A couple more questions. I'll roll through them pretty quickly here. Jason Tatum and Ray Lewis have a couple similar questions on Devin Bush. Jason asks, "Do you think Bush will have the green dot this year?" And Ray Lewis asks, "Will Devin Bush take a step forward this year?" I think the answer to both those questions is yes. I expect Devin Bush to be the basically 100% snap count every down linebacker this year, including wearing the green dot. Do you agree, Dave? He's wearing the green dot.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd be disappointed if he's not.
Yep. Lewis Groh says Ramon Foster would be a good get for the podcast. Maybe Ike too. Yeah, Foster's I think got a really bright career in media. Ike's obviously been with that to some extent, so I think those would both be really good guests to get on the podcast. Pink King Colton, hope you feel better, man. Not much more I can do for you right now. Hopefully the podcast was a good distraction. And then finally, Tom, and the last name trips me up here, so I'm gonna just say Tom W4. As for tight ends, is McDonald done after 2020? Is the limited tape you saw from Gentry encouraging and all that he could be a second option? I would just say McDonald's days are numbered, given the wear and tear on his body. And Gentry, I have yet to see enough from him. It's a big second year for Zach Gentry.
Oh yeah, that blocking's got to get better.
Yep, and he could get better. I mean, he was a
Sure,
junior. A lot of
he's
things
got
working
nowhere to
against him.
go but up.
Yeah, the sleds won't be as intimidating in Latrobe this year, but it'll be a challenge, and so he's got to do a lot to earn that trust first. So, Captain Spartan says Hayden seems more of a lock for Hall of Fame, but may have Donnie Shell wait. Yeah, I don't think Hayden's going to be in that immediate conversation. My guess is he wouldn't get in, but if he does, it may be a Donnie Shell thing, like you're saying. And then King Hutchinson to round us out says he's a first time subscriber, so thank you for being here, King H. I appreciate it, and that'll be it.
Magnesium citrate, Pink King Colton, magnesium citrate, 99-cent bottle at your
Is
local
that the old
Walmart.
the old Pepto? Is that what you're getting at?
Yep, that's the old snake oil.
Yeah, Tim Ray, real quick here. Anything new from the depot coming this summer? I don't know. We're gonna have to find something because it's a long way till camp, and so I will have to come up with some different stuff. But that's why we're doing some of the video content and going to keep expanding with that, and hopefully that'll be something different to hold you guys over through these next 2 months.
A lot of contextualizations, breakdowns. I haven't even gotten. I mean, I've shown a lot on McFarland already, but we're going to do a lot more McFarland. We're going to get into Carlos Davis and breaking that stuff down. So yeah, we're going to just have to go deeper. We got a lot more time, so we're going to have to go a little bit deeper on these draft picks. I think we'll and undrafted free agents as we move forward.
And we hope you'll be with us on the site as we roll through the summer to check out some of this stuff and let us know the feedback of what you guys would like to see this summer. We're always looking for ideas from you guys. So that'll be it for the stream today. As always, we'll be back here next Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour answering your Steelers questions. So, Dave, thanks so much for being here. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the podcast.
Peace and love, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
All right, bye, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.